Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? Well, if you're wondering why Canelo Álvarez is giving someone the hand as if he's saying, I'm not trying to hear what you're talking about, it's because at this moment, Canelo Álvarez has officially announced that he is completely ruling out Terence Crawford as an opponent. Not just ruling him out as his next opponent, but ruling Crawford out completely. So Canelo Álvarez, he does this interview in Spanish, and he's asked a question by the reporter. The reporter, he says, is there a possibility or is it on the radar now that we're all fascinated by mega fights and about facing super champions? Is there a possibility of a fight with Terence Crawford? And Canelo, he simply replies by saying no. Reporter, he says, not that one? Canelo says, that's right. And then the second reporter, he chimes in by saying, there's going to be a lot of money, a lot of people. I want to see that fight. Canelo, he says, yeah, but they're going to criticize me. They criticize me anyway. They criticize me because I fought Charlo, who moved up, who is bigger than me because I'm a small fighter in these weight classes, and because he moved up in weight. But they don't criticize when I move up in weight. Now imagine Crawford, from welterweight to 168 pounds. So what am I going to do here? I have everything to lose and nothing to gain. Because if I win, well, it was because he was too small. End quote. You know, guys, Canelo Álvarez, he has a great point. But the problem with him saying that is if you truly believe that you're not going to get the credit that you deserve because you're going to get criticized for fighting someone who's moving up 3 weight classes, you're supposed to take the fight that the whole boxing world wants to see you involved in, which is against David Benavidez. This is the reason why I don't believe Canelo Álvarez when he says this is the reason why he's completely ruling out Terence Crawford. Because Canelo Álvarez is supposed to do the exact same thing that Terence Crawford and Errol Spence did, which was fight against each other because that was the best fight that could be made in all of boxing at the time. Let me elaborate on that point. If Errol Spence and Terence Crawford was in Canelo Álvarez's situation right now, and they had an option to either fight against each other or fight against an opponent that was 2 or 3 weight classes below, they're obviously going to choose fighting against each other. That is daring to be great. Now, if Canelo Álvarez was daring to be great, the first thing he would do is avenge his loss to Dimitri Bivol. And then after that, he would go after David Benavidez. This is what the greats did. Sugar Ray Leonard avenging the Duran loss, Ali avenging the Frazier loss, so on and so forth. So once again, if Canelo really cared about criticism, he would only be focused on fighting David Benavidez, David Morrell, or Dimitri Bivol. But if you're going to cherry pick, I truly believe that Terence Crawford would have been the best cherry pick, at least for the fans. But Canelo Álvarez, he doesn't care what the fans want. He doesn't care what they think. He just wants to have a guaranteed win, which is why he's most likely fighting Jermall Charlo next, a fight that's 5 to 6 years too late. Fighting that version of Jermall Charlo that we just seen against Jose Benavidez, that's like Canelo fighting against James Kirkland after he got knocked out, or fighting Paul Williams after he got knocked out. Listen, guys, I don't do too many predictions unless I'm really comfortable with who I think is going to win the fight. I told you guys that Bivol was going to beat Canelo. I told you how he was going to beat him. And now I'm telling you, when it comes to Jermall Charlo, once again, the version that we just seen, and never fighting at 168, I see Canelo stopping Charlo within 5 rounds. I told you guys on numerous occasions, I don't believe this version of Charlo can beat any of the top 5 guys at 168. I wouldn't even pick him to beat Caleb Plant. You know what's interesting, because Jose Benavidez, I give him a lot of credit because he usually gives a very honest assessment when it comes to future opponents for his son. Because before we seen Jermall Charlo in his worst performance against Montiel, Jose Benavidez, he came out and he said that Jermall Charlo would be the most difficult fight for us. He said that fight would be more difficult than the Canelo Álvarez fight. He said the Canelo fight would be much easier. But now today, Jose Benavidez is saying, we don't even want that fight against Jermall Charlo. He said, look at how he looked against my son, Jose. He wouldn't go past 3 rounds against David Benavidez. He said, so why take a fight that the fans don't want to see? Because that would be a mismatch. This just proves that Jose Benavidez, he can see that this is a complete different version of Jermall Charlo. And we may never see that version that knocked out Julian J. Rock Williams, even the version that fought Sergey Derenyevchenko. I think that version is long gone. So ever since Canelo Álvarez lost to Bivol, he's back to doing what he's been doing his entire career, choosing opponents that are either way smaller than him, coming off of their worst performances, or just got knocked out. But for real boxing fans, the news gets even worse than that. because Canelo Alvarez's trainer, he just recently came out and implied that Canelo Alvarez may never fight David Benavidez. He said we need to be very careful with who we fight at this stage of Canelo's career. Let me quote exactly what he said. Reynoso, he said, at this stage of Canelo's career, we have to be very careful with everything we do next because it's the last few years of Canelo as a fighter. Guys, that sounds like somebody that stopped daring to be great a long time ago. Canelo is only 32 years old. Terence Crawford is 36 years old and he's still daring to be great. Floyd Mayweather was daring to be great all the way to the age of 38. In fact, when he was 36, he fought his version of David Benavidez, which was Canelo Álvarez, a strong power puncher that outweighed Floyd Mayweather by 15 pounds, fighting against a naturally bigger guy, undefeated champion at a higher weight class. And Canelo is sitting over here talking about how he moved up in weight to fight Bivol, but he lost that fight. He was supposed to dominate the Bivol fight the same way Floyd Mayweather dominated Canelo. And to make things even worse for Canelo, Bivol even agreed to come down in weight. He agreed to moving down to 168 for the rematch, and Canelo still turned it down. Guys, you have to remember, Canelo Álvarez is a power puncher. When it comes to Floyd Mayweather, fans was calling Floyd feather-fisted when he was fighting guys that were way bigger than him than Canelo Álvarez was fighting when he fought Bivol. So if anyone deserves an excuse for being too small in the ring, it's Floyd Mayweather, not Canelo Álvarez. You know, Canelo Álvarez, he likes to say he's earned the right to fight whoever he wants to fight now. The problem with you saying that is you're admitting that you could actually fight the best competition if you wanted to. There's no one stopping those fights from happening. None of these fighters are avoiding Canelo Álvarez. So Canelo has never been in Terence Crawford's situation or Devin Haney's situation. The history books will show Canelo Álvarez saying that he was the one that chose not to fight the best competition when he, by his own admission, could have. You know what? I never finished quoting what Reynoso was saying when he was talking about how Canelo Álvarez, he only has a few years left. He also said, so Canelo Álvarez needs to do what's in his best interest, what's more convenient. He continued by saying Canelo Álvarez being afraid of David Benavidez is just not true because Canelo fought the best fighter in the last 40 years. How are you going to compare fighting against an old, small Floyd Mayweather that you outweighed by 15 pounds? Canelo is the only fighter I know in recent history that became a superstar by losing to a superstar. Usually you're supposed to become a superstar by beating the superstar. That's what Floyd Mayweather did with Oscar De La Hoya. Canelo was supposed to do the same thing that Floyd Mayweather did to De La Hoya. You can't compare fighting Floyd Mayweather to fighting David Benavidez. Canelo had nothing to lose when he fought Floyd Mayweather. The only thing he had to do is stand on his feet and not get knocked out by Floyd. And he knew that wasn't going to happen because Floyd had already moved up 5+ weight classes. David Benavidez can match your power. He can match your size. And he's younger than you. You remember when Canelo Álvarez was using excuses saying he lost to Floyd Mayweather because he was inexperienced? Well, now Canelo Álvarez is in Floyd Mayweather's role where he's the fighter with all of the experience. He's the fighter that has way more experience than David Benavidez. So how come he doesn't want to do, once again, the same thing Floyd Mayweather did when he was in this situation? I can't even say the same situation because Floyd Mayweather was much older. And like I said, Floyd did not have the power, the type of equalizing power that Canelo Álvarez would have fighting against Benavidez. Then Canelo will tell you, oh, well, I fought Bivol. But you cannot get credit for guys that you actually lost to. Anybody can go in the ring and lose to someone. Despite the fact that Canelo was so much bigger and younger than Canelo Álvarez, if he would have lost to Canelo because Canelo was just too big and strong for him, do you think anyone would have said, you got to give Floyd Mayweather credit because he was daring to be great? Or Floyd, he doesn't have to fight Manny Pacquiao or any other dangerous opponents in his career because he lost to Canelo Álvarez. Do you guys see how silly that sounds? Well, you actually have some Canelo fans that are trying to use that defense when it comes to Canelo, not fighting David Benavidez. Oh, you know, Canelo, he fought Bivol. He fought Floyd Mayweather. So why should he have to fight Benavidez? The only thing you're telling us is there are two fighters that made it very clear that they were better than Canelo Álvarez. And the one fighter Canelo Álvarez can fight to get some of that credit back since he refuses to fight Bivol in the rematch, he doesn't even want to fight, which is David Benavidez. And let me just say this as well. Canelo Álvarez didn't just go after Bivol because he wanted to prove how great he was. Canelo was forced to take the Bivol fight. Because if you guys recall, originally Canelo Álvarez wanted to move up to cruiserweight and fight a paper champ by the name of Makabu from South Africa. a flat-footed sea-level fighter that had previously been knocked out multiple times. Remember, Canelo Álvarez, he did a face-off with Makabu and everything. He thought he was about to rob DAZN blind again, with another guaranteed win and an easy payday, until DAZN gave Canelo the bad news and told him that they were not going to pay for a Makabu fight. Because DAZN, they were tired of losing money, and they knew the most significant fight for Canelo Álvarez on their network would be against Dimitri Bivol. So for the first time, Canelo Álvarez, he was stuck between a rock and a hard place. The only offers that Canelo Álvarez had on the table at the time was to either fight Bivol first and then fight Gennady Golovkin, or take a multi-fight deal with PBC, which would require Canelo Álvarez to fight David Benavidez, Charlo, or Errol Spence. And because Canelo Álvarez had so much success against European/white fighters at 168, he chose to go the DAZN route with Bivol and Golovkin, and he completely got dominated. All those times Canelo Álvarez was able to choose his opponent, he was winning easy. The one time DAZN told him, you have to choose this opponent, that's when he lost. So I'm gonna wrap this video up by saying this. Some of you Mexican fans, if you want to, you could say Canelo Álvarez is the greatest Mexican fighter of all time. But if you say that, what is that really saying about Mexican fighters? Think about that question. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one.
Fellas, I've got some great news for you. If you've lost your hair or have a receding hairline, the time has come when you can finally get your hairline back through a process called scalp micropigmentation. So here's how it works. It's a hair tattoo that replicates the look of your hair follicles when you have fully shaved it down. So to get this hookup, make sure you follow and contact my man Scalp Carolinas on Instagram. All right, now check this out, guys. If you're looking to repair eczema scars, burns and bruises, dark spots and blemishes,
Fever blisters, diabetic ulcers,
this right here is the perfect product for you guys. It's called Elo Diki Face and Body Oil. Athletes and top-ranking boxers, they're also using it after training to reduce swelling, inflammation, and to ease the pain. So get yours today. Go to elodiki.com.
like them on Facebook, and follow them on Instagram.
Let me tell you guys about Issa Israel Law Firm. It is a full-service legal practice based in Denver, Colorado, an emerging hub for combat sports and high-altitude training. If you're a fighter inside or outside of the ring and you need a law firm you can trust to fight for you, visit thefighterfirm.com or email help@iilawfirm.com. Legal representation is usually limited to plaintiffs or defendants in Colorado, but iFirm can help anyone in the world with trademarking their business name, logos, and U.S. immigration issues. This brother has been my attorney for a while and helped guide me through all kinds of business and civil issues, so make sure you guys go to thefighterfirm.com.